All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 9 of Top Bin Socks, presented by FTF Canada. I'm one of your co hosts, Adam Jones, alongside Kwame Awuah, who is currently in preseason. Kwame, how's that going, buddy?
What's up, everybody? Yeah, if you guys know, all the professional players, even players in general, played at any type of level. Preseason is a tough one. Right now it's really cold, and we train outside, so I'm just adapting to that. And yeah, it's been good so far. Most of everything is mostly ball work. Just getting to know the guys, getting to know the system. Um, Putting a lot more on my plate for myself, and just taking it day by day. I think past teams I was more focused on the future and what we can accomplish instead of enjoying the whole journey and the whole process. So I think just a different mentality. Right now I'm in an Airbnb, so I don't want you guys to think that this is my curtains. I have better house decor than this, but at the same time, I'm in a nice place with some nice ladies, and they take care of me and my fellow teammate, Clyde, and we're enjoying it, man. I'm enjoying it. The facilities are nice. I got to see the first team facility. The first team's away right now in LA, and yeah, it's a nice little place all the way out in Virginia.
There you go.
Mhm.
So again, kind of like you said there, obviously taking it day by day, understanding that like, oh, rather than focusing on the big picture. Do you think that when you look back, you'd rather taken that approach, kind of going through, if you look back at college and going with New York City and Forge and St. Louis, like rather take that approach where you can kind of see incremental improvements every single day rather than focusing on almost like, oh my God, we got to win a championship in
Mhm. I
preseason.
mean, I mean, every team that I've been on has had high expectations, and I've always had high expectations for myself. And like, I don't want to make it seem like an interview as well, but like going to New York, like in college, I was focused on the day to day because you were doing so much more than just soccer. So you had to focus on the day to day. Like you couldn't just only focus on soccer. Going to New York, I won't even lie. I think I probably got too not starstruck, but too like I was like, damn, is it bright lights? Like you always had to focus on you. So I had to develop my professionalism there a lot more, and with the help and guidance of a lot of the veterans on the team who I still talk to this day. It's been a journey. Then going to Forge is like just obviously that was a different process in my journey. It was like, okay, how do I get my confidence back, get more games, this and that. But I think my last year in Forge is when I got back to enjoying like the daily grind of football and just like being happy. I think COVID changed my whole perspective, like just being happy that I could play again. Because you never, especially in Canada, we didn't know we were gonna be able to play again. We were out for so long, and just to have the opportunity to get back on the field was dope. And in St. Louis, the Vancouver St. Louis transition, I kind of like I was at a peak that I thought like, okay, now that I've done so many things right, maybe I can finally hit the ground running. And I did for the most part, but obviously things don't work, and it's not anyone's fault. It's just not your time. So came here and I'm enjoying it now. I mean, back on the East Coast, like I said, last pod, chilling, absolutely chilling. So it's fun to be closer to home, and it's fun to be back in some surroundings where obviously I lived in New York, which is not too far. But I mean, this is a nice place. But enough about me. How you been, brother?
Yeah, you know what? Things are good, man. Things are getting busy. Luckily for me, it's a lot warmer out here than it is on the East Coast. I mean, I think like we're getting upset right now where it looks like it might get pretty cold next week. We're looking at like -5, -10, potentially some snow again next week, which a
Yeah, I don't
couple
want to hear no
inches,
complaints,
couple
bro.
couple inches here shuts down the city. I don't even know how we'd function if we got the amount of snow that Toronto's getting right now, if I'm being honest with you. Like it just
It's crazy.
it shuts down everything just a couple inches out here.
Mm,
We're just not used to it, but yeah, it's nice and warm out on the pitch pretty much every day at this point, just coaching and training myself with my local team and
mm.
you know enjoying the post training beverages as much as possible right now. That's about it.
I gotta stay away from them things, bro. It's a clean season. Clean
Yeah,
season, bro. That's
yeah,
it, bro.
for you, I
Maximum
get that.
fitness.
For me, it's significant hydration that's required.
That's a great way of putting it. Wow. I'm gonna tell my other boys to use that same line. My other boys that don't play. Like, yo, I understand. You need that hydration.
Yeah, you need hydration is just so key. It's so
That's what's
important.
up. That's so dope.
Yeah,
All right.
but let's hop right into it, man. Like, so they announced today, 2024 Copa America is going back to the US. And there's going to be 6 CONCACAF teams that are going to qualify. And the way that that's going to work is no one's guaranteed. It's going to be qualified through the CONCACAF Nations League, which I think is actually kind of a cool idea, cool way to do it. And it would be utterly hilarious if somehow the US don't qualify yet they host.
Yeah, honestly, I think all hell will break loose if that was to happen. But it's kind of dope that Copa America is seeing the quality in North America as well. I mean, you can tell from the last World Cup, guys that are in the MLS, that played in MLS, mostly the best players from those Central American teams come to the MLS, become DPs, and like obviously the best, some of the best North Americans that aren't in Europe are playing in MLS. So it's kind of dope for them to acknowledge that, okay, the soccer aspect, everybody's kind of catching up. So maybe we can consider putting in a Canada, a US, Costa Rica, you know what I mean? Like they can compete at that level. So it's a dope experience. And it'll be even doper for guys to play against their idols, play against Brazil, play against Argentina, Colombia, all those guys. So it'll be a great tournament. And I'm sure those South Americans are pumped to come to the US. They love professional soccer players that from Europe or from South America, they love being in America. Just
Big
the fact
time.
of just being there. Yeah.
Well, it's
They'll
also
enjoy it.
like I think like looking at the facilities they're going to get to use too. It's all going to be state of the art. It's all going to be perfectly manicured. There's going to be more scrutiny on the referees, which again in those like that's one of those things where I remember watching. I think it was what was it, Copa America Centenario that was in the U.S. and
2016.
looking, but just looking at that and how that was officiated and how the
Mm-hmm.
teams behaved compared to when it's in Colombia
Mm-hmm. Whole
or
different
in
ball
Brazil
game.
or in it's night and day.
Mm-hmm.
So
Whole
that'll
different
be
ball game.
interesting. I don't know that 6 is the right way to go. Like I know Mexico are always in. Like
Mm-hmm.
Mexico historically have always had a team, and they have and again the U.S. were in 2016, and Qatar I
Mm-hmm.
think were in the last one. Like I do
Yeah.
understand that they do invite guest nations because I mean because South America is
Um.
so small, Comedy
Mm-hmm.
Ball is so small that they do need extra ones to make the tournament
Mm-hmm.
worthwhile, which I understand.
Mm-hmm.
6 seems like a lot to me
How many? How
personally.
many are there altogether? What, 10, 11 teams in Common Bowl, if I'm not mistaken?
I
We can go
think it's
through it.
10. So if
We can
it
go
gets to
through it.
16, like I get that, but
Mm-hmm.
like again, a total of 6 teams
Mm-hmm.
seems like a lot, because at
Oh,
what
you
point
mean a total from CONCACAF six?
a
Okay, I
total
think
of
it should. I
guest
think it should be
teams, that's what
four.
I'm
Just
thinking.
just like how they do World Cup. Why wouldn't it just be four?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, like
yeah.
that,
It
that
makes
that's kind of
Nations
what I'm
League. It makes Nations League more important.
because
Mm-hmm.
also how are you gonna figure out I guess for that you're gonna have to go through there's gonna be additional CONCACAF Nations League games now because you can't just
Mm-hmm.
do the semifinals. Like whoever loses
Mm-hmm.
in the quarters, now that's going to be interesting. Like the losers of the quarters are now going to go to a separate bracket. They have to be able to like
Mm-hmm.
who's 5 and 6. How do
Or
you
or
justify that?
or I think it's like whoever gets. So if it's like a two-legged, like because Nations League is home anyway, right? So let's say it's three groups Nations League, right? Or is it four? Or is
See,
it?
that's the thing. I don't remember
I
now.
think they
Well,
might. I
Canada and
think
the
that
US were in the same one last time. It
it was
might be
three. It was
3
three.
groups of 4.
Three groups of four. So like the top two from each team go to a quarterfinals, and then like the four that goes to the semifinals. It's like how we were in CONCACAF League when I was at Forge. So the four that go to the semifinals automatically qualify. The two teams that lose the best, I guess, will qualify. That's how like Forge qualify the Champions League. Like
Okay.
we lost in aggregate, but like we had a 0 goal differential. So they can do it like that. Or how many wins you've had throughout
Whatever the tie breaks
the
are.
Nations League. Yeah.
I guess I wonder if that do you think that would come from Comedy Bowl or do you think that would come from CONCACAF? Like who
I mean, I
picks how
think
the 6 teams go through?
I think it should be a joint thing because at the same time it is Common Bowl's tournament.
It's their tournament.
Yeah, it's their tournament, but CONCACAF but then it can get a little bit techie because like Common Bowl might pick like let's say might pick a team that has more GDP per capita for business or like what team will look better playing against. So let's say Costa Rica is one of the teams that does it like is on the fringe or whatever. Be like, you know what? They're Spanish speaking. They're usually in World Cups. Like, let's put the like, you know what I mean?
Well, I'm pretty sure everyone in CONCACAF besides Canada has a pretty strong Spanish speaking community.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But
Like,
I'm saying, but like nations, like I don't know how many people in the U.S. can actually speak Spanish. You know what I mean? Like Canada and the
yeah,
U.S. I'm saying
yeah.
like Mexico, Panama,
Well,
like
the rest
those
of them.
teams. Yeah, the rest of them they're gonna be like, okay, maybe would we rather have Panama or would we rather have Honduras? So I think if you say like whoever has won the most games in their group stage, or whoever has, like, let's say Panama loses to Canada 3-0 in one quarterfinals, and another team loses 2-0, the team that lost 2-0 should go.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think like at the same time, I think it's great. I mean, obviously, we would expect Canada now to qualify, which is a phenomenal feeling to have
Mm-hmm.
because I think 3 years ago we'd have been, oh my God, are they going to get there?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't that long ago where we weren't,
Mm-hmm.
where we had that little bit of uncertainty. Now we almost expect it, which is,
Where
there's
we need to be.
expectation. Exactly. But it's also from the educational standpoint to the average Canadian fan, because this is going to be on TSN. It's going to
Mm-hmm.
be widely available, number one. Number
Mm-hmm.
two, they now actually get to see the level of Comedy Bowl
Mm-hmm. And see where they stand.
and see where you stand. See where you stand against some of the middle of the pack ones, because
Mm-hmm.
how do you line up against Ecuador, who were impressive at the World Cup? Colombia didn't qualify.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
But Colombia is usually always there too, so it's like,
and especially in Copa America, where again
mm-hmm.
it gets that little bit harder. The refereeing's that little bit, more
Mm-hmm.
lenient at times, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm excited for from like the fan perspective, to be able to sit there and now we'll get to watch Canada play against those types of teams. The Gold Cup's great,
Mm-hmm.
but you really only want to watch them play against the Mexicos and the US's
Mm-hmm.
and the Costa Ricas, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
when they play, the St. Kitts and Nevis.
Mm-hmm. It's not really, yeah.
No person who's on the fence is going to tune into that
Mm-hmm.
game. You know what I mean? When
Mm-hmm.
it's Mexico, oh my God, I want to
Okay.
watch. You
Yeah.
know, like we saw that with the World Cup when it was Croatia.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone tuned in after the Belgium game when
Mm-hmm.
it broke
Mm-hmm.
globally. Now everyone wants to tune in and watch.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing that I'm super excited for, obviously, because everyone's going to be like, oh my God, this is Brazil. And then up here, it's going to be, oh yeah, this is this team's record against the Brazils and the Argentinas and
Mm-hmm.
all them. And if
Yeah.
they get drawn in one of their groups, oh, even better.
Yeah. It honestly, like, and I think that's just gonna motivate all the CONCACAF countries. Like, wow, we're playing against the world champs. They literally just won 2 years ago the World Cup, and Messi probably will still be playing at that time as well. So I wouldn't doubt it.
2024.
Yeah, we're in 23 right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess I no, you know what? It's
I
funny.
don't think he'll play the next World Cup. I think he'll play the next
I
Copa
wonder
America.
if this will be his last. This will be like, this is my last tournament with Argentina. But
Mm-hmm.
again, do you do that? You're walking out. You've won the Copa America. You've won the World Cup. You've won. He's
Mm-hmm.
going out right now having won every single one of his
Everything.
last major tournaments
Yeah.
for Argentina. Do you take your
I don't.
victory lap this year, and
I don't.
then
I don't think if he loses that Copa America 2024, anyone's gonna care.
oh no no no
Yeah.
I'm saying from a personal standpoint, because
Oh
right
yeah,
now he's like
I would
he
like to see
like
I'd like to see him retire from Argentina right now. I think after the World Cup, he should have said, "Yo."
well, I kind of like what he's doing, where he's like, again, though, he's worked this whole time to be a world champion with Argentina. And he
Mm,
goes, I want to play as a World Cup winner for Argentina. So he's going to take this year to do it, which is why I was like, I wonder, like, does he step foot in another Copa America?
mhm.
Like, does he
Yeah,
take this
probably
year
not.
to, like, this is kind of like, he's going around, he's getting jerseys before every game. It's
Mhm.
it's his retirement tour, his
Yeah,
international retirement tour, right? Um, but again, he also loves representing Argentina.
yeah. And if he's like physically, if he physically can, he's probably gonna be. And it's in America. It's not like the pitches in South America. Like
Yeah.
he could chill a little bit. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
mean, he already doesn't defend, so it's like, all right, some of those ones. But who knows? Maybe he changes his mind. We have to see his club situation as well. Neymar too. Neymar said that it might be his last. Neymar gonna come. I know a Copa America in America, but Neymar coming back.
Oh, for sure.
Neymar
For
gonna be
sure.
there. Neymar gonna be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, see, I didn't want to segue to the CPL, but like this looks like it is a segue to the CPL, because after the winners of the CPL in 2023 go to CONCACAF Champions League in 2024. So it seems like so many things are leading to from 2024 and on towards the World Cup, that like we're intermingling, like we're putting like all of North America together, like trying to ban the Liga MX, MLS, CPL. We're trying to connect everything where it's like a broader exposure for everyone in North America. And yeah,
Massively.
that's a shout out to the national teams that have done so well, and like just being able to get our national team better has been able to put eyes on the youth in our um, country, and then pushing them on to play in better systems, better situations, and then yeah, 2024 and on, it's going to be dope.
Yeah, it's huge. And then also, like, I mean, I think the other thing, again, we won't step in too much with CPL right now, but
Mm,
when that next Gold Cup comes in, if you're looking primarily at if you're looking at Comedy Bowl and doing Copa
mm,
America, Gold Cup's a perfect opportunity to bring in that second reserve squad. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm,
Like what the US just did with their Gold Cup one last time, right? Those
mm-hmm,
are all predominantly MLS players. They left the European ones at home. I
mm-hmm,
get COVID played a part, but like all of a sudden now it's like here's a legitimate chance for them to go. Let's take a look at the broader player pool
mm-hmm,
now,
mm-hmm,
which is why you'd like to see more camps now start to crop up and come
mm-hmm.
up and genuinely see this.
Yeah, they just announced the home friendly against, not friendly, but Nations League against Honduras for March 28th at BMO
Yeah.
Field.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry for all you fans. I'm gonna let you know it's still gonna be cold, so prepare. Yeah, prepare. It's still gonna
What
be cold in
March? What are you
Toronto.
talking about? It's just rainy.
March,
Oh no, it's Vancouver.
yeah,
It's just
in
rainy out here.
Vancouver.
That's it.
Yeah, Toronto.
Yeah,
Y'all be ready. Yeah.
which also like the other thing that I really like about this is the fact that it put like obviously like doing all the different nations leagues and putting something at the end of it makes this time and these friendlies,
Mm-hmm,
what they used to be, way more significant, which is
mm-hmm,
great. But now to actually put something genuinely on the line to
mm-hmm.
go,
Yeah.
no, so now you're qualifying for Copa America now this
Mm-hmm,
year. That makes it even that much more important. And again, those
mm-hmm,
types of meaningful games for a national team are so, so, so key. Because
mm-hmm,
again, with Canada, we're still at the beginning of our cycle.
mm-hmm. And
So
when is the Gold Cup?
you know what? I'm gonna look it up right now because that's a great if it's in 2024
Yeah,
as well, you're like that is a
that is
hundred
great.
percent gonna be A and B. And it should
If
be.
or isn't it this year? Because the last one was 2021. Because if it's this year, that could be a
Might
nice.
be.
If it's this
Oh,
year,
you
then
know
that
what? I wonder if it's 20 because they do it every 2 years.
yeah. If it's 2021, I remember it was 2021 because there's still COVID going on. And I had a couple friends on the national team for US that got COVID.
It is 2023. It's
Yeah, so see,
2023.
that's a perfect warm up for you to get ready for
2023
the.
and then 2025. So they've got
Mhm.
two kind of heading into the World Cup,
Look at
which
that.
again,
You have Gold Cup, then you have the Copa America. Hopefully you qualify. Then you have Gold Cup again, and then you have the World Cup. So
that's three major tournaments now getting ready for that next World Cup. You'd hope, right? Obviously, they have
mhm,
to qualify through CONCACAF Nations League,
mhm,
and we expect them to, but it's also now two Gold Cups that you're expected to
at
minimum get
least
to
we
the
set up
semifinal,
semifinals.
minimum, and
Mhm.
even that's not necessarily considered successful,
Yeah.
right? Like, and
Mhm,
that's actually exciting. Like that's so
mhm.
exciting.
There's a lot of
You know,
soccer to be played, especially national teams is coming up, man. It's dope. It's dope. Can't wait,
it's
man.
all, you know, and again with all
Mhm,
the guys now starting, like, you know, Tajon's now being rumored to be going to Inter because
mhm.
Dumfries, like he's going to replace Denzel Dumfries. You're like,
Yeah.
fucking what a move. But now looking at the number of games that guys are starting to play now, we need
Mhm,
to increase that pool. It cannot be
mhm,
the same 11, 12, 13 guys that play week in, week out for the national team.
mhm,
You've got to start increasing that. So, you know, obviously more camps, but more opportunities now to expand this. And again,
mhm,
they have, and the nice thing already is that you can see that there's an identity with the national team.
mhm.
So now that there's an identity, it should be easier to find guys, whether they're in MLS, whether they're in CPL, that might actually be able to come in and fill a void based on their style of play. And that would
Yeah,
be the
that
nice
is
thing to
true,
try and see. They just need to get more camps. They need to get more reps at it. But it's exciting, man.
bro. Nah, it's what I'm telling you, bro. It's actually elite, bro. I mean, I can't wait. I'm excited for these guys and anyone that gets to be part of it. Bro, just enjoy the moment. That's all. That's just the most important thing. Like everybody forgets that we're we're literally people always say we're not supposed to be here, but we literally just turned a new leaf, literally, like 2 years ago. Some teams have been in these situations, so now we have to enjoy and thrive being in these situations, which is important, man. Like Kyle going to Valladolid, that's another transfer that I mean he needed minutes, and I'm happy that he got to go to La Liga. They're fighting for relegation, but there's about six teams that have the same amount of points with them. So hopefully he does get to
Now
stay
there's
up,
like
and hopefully he
it's not
gets to
like he's going to a, but now there's pressure for him to go score, which is good. Give
yeah.
him the pressure. He's not going to a mid-table team
Mm-hmm,
where it's like, nothing really
mm-hmm,
matters. Like now everything matters. Like
mm-hmm.
I think
And
those types
they
of
went out on a limb. They went out on a limb for you, so now you got to produce. And I don't doubt he will. I don't doubt he will.
These guys produce pretty much everywhere he's gone, man.
Hmm.
So again, like if you can get back into form and
Hmm.
start scoring, like it's gonna be awesome. And again, it's gonna be cool going. Yeah, he's line up against Real Madrid, line up against Barcelona. Are you
Exactly.
kidding me?
That's cool. Yeah,
Like that's awesome.
that's amazing. But so we were. I know we mentioned getting the youth into better situations. Obviously, you know, TFC Montreal and Vancouver still in preseason in the MLS. Is there any youth that you would like to see that could be the next Ishmael Kones or the next Tejan Buchanan's, like within those systems? I know right now TFC is really in the veteran mode or like mature player mode. Montreal probably will play more youth. Vancouver is more of a international squad, I would say. A
Yeah,
lot of
Vancouver, I
Americans, not
don't.
that many Canadians. Not that many
Um,
Canadians on Vancouver.
one young one I know for Vancouver is Mateo Campagna,
Hmm.
center back, which again, it looks like that's always a position that they seem to rotate. And Vanny does sometimes go to a back three, like a three
Hmm.
center back. So I know he's a
Hmm.
little undersized. He actually played against you guys when I went and watched you guys last one. He was excellent. He ended up at Halifax to end their
Hmm.
season on loan. So I think in a back three, I think if that's what they're going to go with, it could be a great opportunity for the kid to go and learn and play against some big time players and in
Hmm.
MLS this year. He's one that I think, that's a kid who we could see more minutes from on the West
Hmm.
Coast. Obviously you would hope that Ryan Raposo would take another step this year.
Hmm.
If Ryan can take
100%.
another step, which would be fantastic, right? So there's another one from their current crop from TFC. I think part of the issue with that one is the guys that you're expecting to take a step. Obviously, Jaden, you'd want to see take another step, but he's competing with Bernadeschi and Insigne potentially
Hmm.
for minutes, right?
And if he wants to play in
Um,
the midfield, he's competing with Jonathan Osorio, who just signed a new contract. And you still
how are
have,
you fitting
you
Mac
still
and
have, you still have,
Bradley and
and you have
how are you fitting
Jimenez
them all?
still. You
How are
still
you
have
fitting them
Jesus
all on the
Jimenez.
same team? So he's in a bit of a tough spot. But again, I still don't think it. I would never at his age think, yeah, if he doesn't break in this year, he's done. Like, look at the guys he gets to learn from now. Are you
Hmm.
kidding me?
Hmm.
Like I think and that's kind of one of the funny things. I think the mindset that those guys have is what sets them apart. Like I don't know if you saw Insigne's comments this week, but he
No,
goes,
I
yeah,
didn't. What do you
North
say?
America. He said North America is completely different because he had other options across Europe. But he said the
Hmm.
biggest difference that he's seen, he goes, I have no regrets about signing for Toronto. But the biggest difference that I see is that every game, it's not everything on the line because it
Hmm.
doesn't matter if you lose. Like in Europe, it is you win at all costs
Yeah.
and losing it's a,
Yeah, I
it's a
seen that. I
huge thing.
did
He
see
goes,
that. I did
so
see that. But
like
how do you think people take that comment? Because there's some people that are still like on the fringe of MLS, and if someone like Insigne says that, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, the MLS ain't shit."
well, I think from like a neutral perspective, I think you look at that and I think if you do watch some games, you kind of understand that because again,
Hmm.
you look at what Everton fans are doing right now.
Hmm. Ooh,
They might go down and they're panicking.
fuming. Yeah.
They're fuming, they're panicking. Like it's like that is what it means to that culture and that community.
Hmm.
I don't agree with some of the stuff they're doing where they're approaching
Hmm.
players in the street.
Hmm.
That's
That's
scary
crazy.
as
That's
hell
wild.
because if someone's having a real bad day, whether it's the
Yeah.
player or the fan,
Fine.
that's a recipe for disaster.
Hmm.
But you see what it means to the community
Hmm.
for them to win. And the players feel that and they
Hmm.
understand that, which only adds to the pressure of playing for a club like that.
Yeah.
There's no
100%.
pressure doing it. But again, though, I don't think, and this is what makes the sport so special. You don't have that pressure in the NFL. You don't like, yeah, you have the pressure to win
Yeah. Yeah. You have
as
the
it gets
person. You
down
have the
there.
you have the personal pressure
You have the personal
probably.
pressure. You don't have the external pressure. It's not
Hmm.
winning at all costs. It's not in
Hmm.
any sport in North America because there's not promotion relegation. Like,
Hmm.
and again, like there's a bit of it's, there are some special programs that it is like that, like Alabama
Hmm.
football in those smaller towns. And there are
Dallas
some
Cowboys. Yeah.
Dallas. No, you can't even say that about
Yeah. I
Dallas.
can't say no more.
You can't say, you haven't been able to say that since like the 80s
Like
now.
I got any team that Tom Brady's on, or like you know what I mean, any team that Aaron
Like,
Rodgers is on.
like
Yeah.
you do have those where it's like you're in a winning window. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like you're in win now mode.
Hmm.
But it's not the same for the Detroit Lions right now. They're like, oh, they're getting better, great. But those years they finished last, you're like, okay, well, they have the first overall pick.
Hmm.
Like that doesn't exist.
Hmm.
That doesn't
Not in
exist.
North America. If you finish in
So
last, you lose money. You don't get a plus from it. In North
exactly.
America, you get a
So
plus from it. Like you finish in last, and you get a nice incentive of getting the best player that's coming up.
yeah, so that's the biggest difference between it. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you now have guys that have that mentality in there, why are you not trying to keep more young kids around them
Mm-hmm.
to go,
That
you
is
need to
true.
learn from that. So that's what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like for like him and Jax and Cozy and those
Mm-hmm.
guys, it's a great opportunity for them now to learn. But again, part of the other issue is that Jax and
You need to be
Cozy
playing.
are now right backs. Well, you've got
Mm-hmm.
Richie till June. Richie's got to play.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, you know,
it's
yeah.
now it's now another situation where you're like, is it, and
And
again, is it one of those ones where those guys learn as much as they can from Richie, and when Richie goes, which again we talked about last pod, like if he
mm-hmm.
stays at Forest, awesome.
Or some
Can they now make that step? Because again, I think like the interesting thing with Tajon that people don't really remember, he broke in at
as a
New
right
England
back.
as a right back with Brad Friedel. Like he'd break in for 2 or 3 games and then he'd be on the bench
Mm-hmm.
again, and then he'd come back. Like those first couple
Mm-hmm.
years, it's not like he played a ton. He didn't play a ton
Mm-hmm.
until he broke out the
Mm-hmm.
Gold
That
Cup.
last year. Yeah.
That's when he just took off. And
Mm-hmm.
again, that's when he was playing at right mid, but he
Mm-hmm.
broke in at right back.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's one of those ones where I think like at TFC, I think there's so many guys around that they can learn so much from that. Again, it's like this idea. It's like, oh, it's win now. It's win now.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get rid of the youth. And you're like, you guys have zero incentive to get rid of them
Mm-hmm.
unless it's money. Like, okay, well, we can, because they're so young, we have to give them
Mm-hmm.
minutes so we can sell them for more money,
Mm-hmm.
which again, you understand from a business standpoint, but that's not the best thing for the kid.
Yeah. That is
So,
true. They need to find a way to just mix them in. You know what I mean? Like it's
mhm,
okay to get minutes here and there, but I think at their age, Wednesday, and it's personal too. Like if you're hungry, you want to play. So it's like, hey, yeah, I can learn from this guy, but I also want to play. So
yeah,
like, where do you balance it as a player? And that was our issue when I was 21, 22. I was like, hey, it's dope learning from Andrea Pirlo, but eventually I can only learn. But if I can't apply it in my game, then like, what's the whole point? If I'm not really under those high pressure situations or stuff like that, what's the whole point? So it has to come to a point, especially Jaden, I would say, because he played a lot last season. Like, can he take that next step? Is like, okay, maybe I'm not playing at TFC. Um, can he go to a lower MLS team that don't care about winning? There's teams in MLS that are not trying to win. Teams that are just trying to make it. Can he go somewhere and can he play consistently? That's all that matters. Like, can he get his numbers up? Can he play consistent? Get his confidence up? Then he's another guy you can send over to Europe. But he still
yeah,
has it. He's still young enough. He's still, you know what I mean? Jaquil's a right back too. Like, how you gonna like? You know what I mean? They have to figure out ways for these guys to get minutes somewhere, and they don't want them to go down to the second team. So where do you put them? They're lost in a limbo. And now they got a brand new left back, guy that played at Basel and stuff like that. Like those two have to play. Like Richie and him have to play. So what do you do then?
yeah,
So
exactly.
that's what I mean. So like the positioning, I mean, unless they learn a whole new position, then then that's what it is. But
Again,
like,
like they're
yeah,
both transformed into right backs.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
yeah,
So it's tough.
it's definitely one of those ones that it's a difficult situation for them.
Mm-hmm,
For me, from my own mentality, I'd be like, no, I want to learn as much as I can from these guys so that when
mm-hmm.
I do get, because it's hard to think that they won't get thrown in to different places.
Yeah.
Obviously, Canadian championships have now been expanded, so there's more games
Mm-hmm,
for the domestic cup. TFC, they're going to have so many games this year. MLS always
mm-hmm,
does, and you never know about injuries where they might get thrown in and they might have to play now rather than getting some minutes. No, they have to log a ton of
mm-hmm,
minutes. So from my own perspective, I want to learn as much as possible, and only like half a season with the guys like Insigne and Bernadeschi. I think
mm-hmm,
after this year, there's a huge conversation to be had.
mm-hmm,
Definitely, if they're not getting in and they're not getting regularly
mm-hmm.
into the pitch, but we'll have to see. And then for Montreal, it's kind of weird because it's been somewhat quiet. Sean Ray has gone back and it looks like he's going to stay. Jonathan
Mm-hmm.
Sirois has gone back and it looks like he's going to stay, but that's a big
That's a big step for
competition with
them.
Pantemis. Well,
Yeah, that's
Pantemis is
big.
already in there and Pantemis did well
Yeah.
last year. Like that's a tough one for Sirois. And again, Sean Ray, you're
Hey,
replacing Jordy
Georgie
Mihailovic,
Miller. Yeah, he has
who
like
just
30
scored.
goal contributions a year.
And he just scored. He just scored on his
Yeah,
I don't know if it was his debut, but he scored
yeah.
for Azad Alkmaar
ACL
this
come on.
past. Yeah. So like that's a huge step, but Montreal seems to be the one that are able to give these opportunities
The
to
younger
these
guys.
guys and succeed. So
Mm-hmm.
again, like we said, last time. You know, Nancy's gone. I don't know how many of the backroom staff have gone, but if they've kept
Mhm.
most of those guys who seem to be doing a pretty good job,
Mhm.
you know what? Maybe that's the one where Sean and I don't know about Sirois because Panamis is there, but maybe Sean can
Mhm.
go and take a step and take
Mhm.
a big one. You know,
Yeah.
we saw it with David's brother last year, with
Yeah,
Schwanier's
Matthew
brother.
Shawnier play
Matthew
wing
started
back,
playing. He started playing
change
way
his whole
more down the
position.
stretch. So again,
Yeah.
there's another one. Like maybe Matthew takes a big step, right?
Mhm.
Like that would be and that would be great. There's another Canadian kid taking another big
Mhm.
step, right? So
Mhm.
that's the one thing about Montreal that always kind of excites me is that if they've been able to keep that backroom staff that have been able to prepare these kids to
Mhm.
step in, well then
Yeah.
that's a reason for good news, right?
100%. I mean, now we could talk about going to transfers within the MLS and then towards the CPL. Toronto C were gold, had no goalie, had no net minder, and have signed my brother, one of my close friends, MLS Cup champion, MLS Cup MVP, Sean Johnson from New York City FC. That's a massive, massive, massive pickup. Alex Bono is one of my friends as well, and you he has done his due diligence for Toronto FC from when he got there to when he left. I mean, obviously the last couple years have been tough competition with Quentin Westberg as well. Um, he stood. I mean, if you think about, it, he really stood to the pressure because they brought Westbrook thinking they were going to start Westbrook, and then he still beat him out. Like they put him under pressure, and he still did his thing. So that shot, and he's here with me at DC, but he's on the first team. I'm on Loudoun United. So that's kind of cool too to have some familiar faces. But Sean Johnson, Toronto FC signed him. How do you feel about this? And like, where do you think? Um, where do you think? How far do you think Toronto FC can go with the signings that they have? They signed another left back from. We said, was it? I don't know what league came from, but I know he played for Basel in Switzerland, and it seems like they're getting their team together, and it's looking like a oiled team with a couple of veterans and everybody in their prime age, like around 27, 28 age range. And usually, if you follow them, those are the teams that usually do well in MLS.
Yeah. I think obviously I think signing a Sean Johnson is pretty that's big. Like again,
Mhm.
former US national team member as well.
Mhm.
Well, still current US national
Still,
team, but he's
went to the World
it,
Cup. Yeah.
yeah, like again, like you're like, okay, this is like that's
Mhm.
big time, right? So I think that's going to give them a little bit of extra confidence, I would say,
Mhm.
where they can seem to take more chances. Because I think,
Mhm.
and this isn't, this is nothing against Westberg or Bono, but I mean, I think he's probably the highest caliber goalkeeper they've had since they got rid of Stephen Fry,
Mhm.
which is hilarious that they played against him three times in an MLS Cup
Yeah,
final against Seattle.
that's
Like,
wild. And he has the best
like
of
that's
them.
crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy, right? So, um, obviously, I think like that's just going to provide them with that little bit more confidence. Where I think at times during the season, I think we've both had these
Mhm.
experiences at various levels where it just seems like any mistake you seem to make ends up in the back of your own net,
Yeah.
and unless you have a goalkeeper who's pulling things out,
Mhm.
where you're like, even if it's a breakaway, you're like, this isn't automatic.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like I think he provides that for you where
Mhm.
you can take a little bit more chance, which might add you can send more numbers forward and maybe you can go forward with 7 rather than just
Mhm.
6. That
Mhm.
just add a couple extra numbers
Mhm.
and you can pin teams back a little bit more and not be
And
as worried about the counterattack,
mhm.
which would be nice. Um, and I think that one signing left back, Matt Hedges at center back is another
Mhm.
veteran
Oh
presence.
yes.
Having Richie for at least half the year.
Mhm.
You've got Mac, you've got Bradley, you've got Oso
Also.
who's signed, you've got Bernadeschi, you've got Jimenez, you've got Insigne, and then you've got the young Canadian group,
Mhm.
the young boys. If
They
they can
signed a
stay
striker,
healthy,
Diomande too, who played with LAFC.
yeah. So
Striker.
it's
Yeah.
I think for them it's going to come down more so to if they can stay healthy or not,
Mhm.
because the center of the park is old. If you
Mhm.
look at Oso, Mac, and the
Mhm.
only reason why I put Mac in there because he just gets injured so much now.
Mhm.
Like it's one of those ones where if he can come back in this year and be super, super healthy and
Mhm.
super fit and sharp and play the majority of the time. And then with
Mhm.
Bradley, like Bradley doesn't seem to get injured, but again,
Mhm.
like,
How much ground can he cover at this age? You know what I mean?
again,
Yeah.
for an entire
Mhm.
MLS season. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So I think for them it depends on how much they can stay healthy and if they can get some significant minutes from other guys.
Mhm.
So, you know,
The
if you're
Iowa
looking,
Canolas.
yeah, like and again,
Mhm.
I still rate his movement so much.
Mhm.
Like I think part of his biggest issue the later it got on was um he needs service. And now with the
Mhm.
Bernadeschi's and the Insignes, now he's gonna get it. So it
Mhm.
like with a full year now, that could be a really big one, right? Like let's see if your movement is really that good. Or if it
Mhm.
was just like you going way too early because it's not set yet, and that's why you were
Mhm.
catching defenses off guard. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like let's take a look at exactly how good your movement is, what's your finishing capability, like
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff. Like it's
Mhm.
another one for him where he can step up. But again, I think you need more in the center of the park to significantly contribute. I think that's a big.
Is Noble Okello still there?
I don't know, but I
Yeah,
every time I watch
I'd
him,
have to
man,
double check.
every time I watch him though, it's like he doesn't like obviously the athleticism's there and he can get around the
Mhm.
pitch so well. That other side of his game where it's just
Mhm.
finding the right outlet,
Mhm.
which Mac and I mean Michael Bradley's been fantastic at that, not just the right
Mhm.
outlet, but the best outlet at most of the
Mhm.
time. It's like
Mhm.
that's the part of the game where it doesn't seem like he has that yet.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Whether it's
Okay.
idea
Yeah.
or whether it's technique, you know what I mean? Like, or
Mhm.
if it's a little bit of both, where it's like, oh, I have the idea, but the
Mhm.
ball's
That's
caught in my feet.
execution. The
Yeah, you know
execution.
what I mean? Or if it's like he can execute it, he just doesn't see it quick enough
Mhm.
yet. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like, and again, not enough games might do that
Yeah,
too.
it might do that. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So going back to Sean Johnson and coming from NYCFC, it's a team that likes to build out, just like so that helps Bob Bradley in his ideas in trying to get TFC to play the way he wants to play, how you play the LAFC and etc. Um, real voice, real leader in the back line. Like adding Matt Hedges as well, good playing on the ball. I think this team is like so it's set up for a MLS Cup run. Obviously, barring injury, like hopefully they don't get injured. And yeah, knock on wood, that doesn't happen. But yeah, transfers there. Um, transfer.
Get him on the pod, buddy. Let's
Who?
get Sean
Sean
up.
John?
Yeah, get Sean on,
Yeah,
man. That'd be dope.
yeah, sure, that'd be dope. Nah, he would definitely do it. It's funny because I was talking to him at my friend's wedding. I'm like, bro, just go to Toronto, yo. Like, what are you waiting for, bro? I was like, dog, I know you're going to Toronto. He's like, I don't know you. I don't know you. I'm like, bro, just go. And if you
Oh,
need any,
buddy,
and if
Joel
I'm like, if you
did
need
the
anything, just let me
same to me,
know.
man. Joel,
How,
Joel did
how,
the
how
same
was
thing
that?
to me. I was like, "You're going to Montreal, yeah?" He's like, "Oh, no, no."
Yeah.
And whenever they go sheepish like that, you just know you're right.
Yeah, you have. Yeah, it's like, bro, just if you need anything, let me know. That's it. That's all I told him. But yeah, man. CPL transfers. Daniel Crutzen, in no bias here, possibly the best center back in the short history of the CPL. If I think best center back in the short history of the CPL. Unfortunately, he came back from ACL tear in August, but helped lead Forge to another CPL title this past season. He has signed with Phoenix Rising in the USL. A lot of people have questioned, like people like me, Daniel, um, guys that signed or went to. So me and
The
Daniel both went
Whitecaps.
to Vancouver, went to the Whitecaps, and people are like, "Yo, how come it didn't how come we didn't cut it there?" And I told you I have nothing against Whitecaps. My experience, they even said it themselves. They're like, "Yo, we really like this guy. We just didn't have the roster space for him." And for Daniel, it was like they already had guys signed in his position, and it's unfortunate because I think that I don't know if no offense, and I don't know if people in CPL might take offense to this. I don't know if the CPL gets as much ratings as people within the CPL that work within the CPL think they get.
Yeah,
You know what I
I know what you
mean?
mean. Yeah,
Because
I know what you mean.
so take this for example. Me and Daniel were on Force for three. He was on Force for 4 years. I was on Force for 3 years. He won three championships. I won two championships. We played Champions League, and we still had to go on trial to Vancouver Whitecaps, who's a team that hasn't even made playoffs in the longest time. You see the difference? Whereas like American guys, if they played in the USL and they tore up the USL and their team made playoffs and they would be able to
Tyler
get MLS
Pasher.
contract. Tyler Patrick, they'd be able to get MLS contracts right out of the USL. So I don't the discrepancy of people saying like, oh, I won't even lie. Like people at Forge saying like the CPL is better than the USL. I wouldn't say that. You can say Forge is better than teams in the USL, but you can't say that the league itself is better than the USL. And that's what a lot of CPL advocates try to do. But I'm like, yo, you have to be realistic. There's 34 games against so many so many other teams. You're playing 34 games with 18 other teams. You still have the traveling that Canada used to have to do, and you're not. And no offense, like those Forge teams, maybe not this past year, but like my first 3 years, like we were so much better than everyone else. Like, yeah, we would lose a game here and there, but like my 3 years at Forge, we lost 9 games. And we played 28 games. Other than so we played 30 games the first year, and I played 40 games altogether my third year. So what was that 68, and then plus the 10 games in the island games. Yeah, I played 80 games for Forge, and I've lost probably like 10 games. Like, how does that make? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you can't. Yeah, you can't. And I'm including that's all league. Obviously, CONCACAF we lost a couple games, but like you can't say like the league of CPL is better than USL. So a lot of people have been
No.
asking me, Daniel, how like, oh, like why did you guys end up going to USL? A lot of them thought we were gonna re-sign to the CPL, and it's like, nah, it's like we've done what we've needed to do, and it sucks to see people move on. And obviously, the Forge family and everybody else is going to be family for life. But it's a platform for young Canadians to make the next move, whether it be USL, because it doesn't have to be a big step. It just has to be a step, whether it be USL, whether it be MLS. And maybe Vancouver just wasn't the right spot for us because the interest is there, but it seems like it's a consistent thing where it's like, okay, a guy from the CPL goes and then it's like, okay, it doesn't happen. You know what I mean? So, and
Yeah.
I've had text messages from coaches in MLS texting my agent saying that I'm not MLS. I'm not good enough for MLS. I'm only good enough for the CPL. And I won't name any names, but when this podcast gets bigger, I'm shooting at all y'all. when this thing gets bigger, I'm shooting at everybody because it's time to tell the truth. And there's a lot of people still in the Canadian system who are like well known that are still tearing down Canadian players, and it's not necessary. Like we should build if you see quality in a player, yes, everybody has it's subjective, but you should never tell something like ruin an opportunity for someone. And that's what there's still people like that out there. Sorry for going on my monologue, but yeah. So
No, you're good.
Danny Cruz to the Phoenix Rising. Tristan Henry, who we had on the podcast with Dominic Samuel, re-signed with Forge. That was a surprising one to me. He was a free agent and would have liked to see him go somewhere else to test himself. But obviously international stuff, you know how Canadians count as international and American teams.
Yeah.
We already spoke about Bustos. Who else? Sergio Camargo re-signing with Calvary, multi-year deal. Joe Mason's option getting picked up with Calvary as well. And on the York signing a couple international guys as they always do. Shout out to York. Shout out to Valor signing another international as well. And then I think that should be it. I mean, who's on the West Coast? You
Vancouver
know more
FC signed. They signed with Marcus Simmons.
Yes.
Or Elliot. Yeah, Marcus Simmons from who's at FC Edmonton last year, and then Gabriel Bitar as well. So Bitar's on his third CPL team. Him and Ben Fisk, I think, are tied for the most CPL teams.
Yes.
Played for.
Ben Fisk won 3 for 3. Yep. Another thing we should talk about is like notable free agents. Notable free agents may include and are not only limited to my brother Christopher Nanko, Kicked Up Culture, founder, CEO. Jonathan Grant, both left Forge FC, obviously including Daniel Crutzen. Who else is a free agent? Those are the only two I probably know.
Matteo Polisi is right now.
Polisi,
yeah,
okay.
Former All-American. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see where he lands. Obviously,
guys like Peter Schale, like what happened to I'm trying to figure what happened to those guys. Like Emery Welshman, free agent for Forge as well. Yeah, so it's kind of tough. Like obviously we were speaking about the rotation of players within the CPL. Um, but yeah, these guys are experienced guys. Were once depended on for their clubs at a high level, and hopefully they can find somewhere to play in the near future.
Definitely. And then obviously, stepping away from the transfer side of it, opening weekend got announced for CPL. So April 14th,
14th,
15th,
15th, and 16th
yeah. So
opening weekend.
Pacific play Vancouver FC. That's going to be the very first game. So that'll be interesting to see the lineup that Vancouver FC roll out for that
Mm-hmm.
one. Obviously Pacific are well established and they've got all their players. Jamie's running a pretty tight ship over there, and
Yeah, how does that work?
they're good sides.
You're an owner and both your teams are playing against each other. Who do you
Well,
cheer for?
I think Rob stepped away. I think Rob stepped away from the Pacific side. So I think his idea was
Okay.
always to have one on the mainland, and so he had
Okay.
joined that one. I'm not sure, I think he stepped away from all the day to day. So I think he would still technically owns part of it.
Mm-hmm.
However, he doesn't do any of the day to day work, and all of that's now been transferred over to Vancouver FC.
Okay. Okay.
So I think that's how that one works. Um, yeah, and so it'll be interesting, man. Like again, I'm still looking at we're nearing the end of January now.
We need more
They've
players.
only got like 7 guys signed.
Mm-hmm.
Like preseason is right there.
Mm-hmm.
You got like there's now an actual
The,
date to get guys in. And again, like the bigger thing goes towards the philosophy side of it. Like
mm-hmm.
that's the part that you need to build, because there's no existing philosophy or culture
Mm-hmm.
here. You have to build all of that from scratch. So when you look at like the Forges and the Pacifics and the Cavalries, which are probably the
Mm-hmm.
three, and now the Atletico and now
Mm-hmm.
Ottawa. Like if you look at
Mm-hmm.
those four, they're the four who genuinely have an identity that you can sit and watch, and it comes out through through the
Mm-hmm.
screen, right? Halifax, it's a little too much turnover. Valor, too much turnover. York, way too much turnover right now to actually be able to sit there and understand and watch, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those ones you can sit there and tell and watch. Whereas these guys, they need to get more guys in.
Yeah.
They have to,
100%.
because
I mean,
the less time you
CPL.
have with the group, it's gonna be even harder to start building through it.
Yeah, CPL for one. If we go back to preseason, like these guys start hella early. Like people are telling me they start preseason February 13th. I'm like, your first games, you start preseason 2 months before the first game. Like that is wild to me. Like that is like asking for a burnout. To be fair, that's how I think of it. You should
I don't think
expect
you
the
need to
guys to,
step in and do like massive preseason. I think you would step
yeah,
in and start going over the philosophical side of it and getting
yeah,
in and doing more technical stuff and doing
hmm
fitness. Like you
yeah.
can almost like especially for a new franchise, I think the earlier you get in, the better, strictly
hmm
because
Yeah,
there's
I'm
more to
talking about the other ones that are more like a four
gotcha.
Pacific and those guys. I'm like, yo, you gotta learn inside that quick.
You
Like
know what
two
though?
months is
What if you go to do
wild.
a trip though? Like
That
if
is
you
true.
get
I
in
think
and
they
you
are
do a bunch of
traveling.
fitness and then you get to go. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I feel like that's, and again, I would hope that that's where this league is getting to almost, this is
hmm
the fifth year. 2 years were COVID though, so we got to take that into
hmm
consideration. But again, like if you look at like the Man United and everything,
hmm
they get like a month off, and then it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, you're back.
they do the Euro tours, they do the
Yeah,
Dubai
they
tour.
go to Australia, they go to
Yeah,
Asia, like they go everywhere,
that's that.
right?
That's that splat. That's that
Well,
splat.
that's what happens when you're worth $5 billion.
Yeah, bro, that's that splat, yo.
But
That's crazy. But you're right though. You're right, 100%. I was gonna say, like now that we're talking about CPL, what are your expectations? So the first game, obviously Vancouver Pacific. Then you got the Forge Cavalry reigniting the rivalry, which
yeah,
I don't think
that's
is a rivalry.
awesome. It's not
Yeah,
it's not really. I think the
it's not
more
really.
the players who weren't a part of that kind of start
Yeah,
to
yeah. I think it's a rivalry in style of play. That's what I
yeah.
think. Yeah. And then you got the Valor versus York and Atletico Ottawa versus Halifax. I mean, I think all matchups are pretty dope. You got Ali Bassett and Nate Ingham coming back from a great experience at Atletico San Luis, and it looked like those guys really like them because like they were posting them on their social media accounts and all that stuff. So hopefully
They're
that
back.
yeah, they had their last training session, last like friendly game, whatever, and they're headed out. So I mean,
Gotcha.
it's an experience, but I think because of the way they were treating them, it should be something that like a lot of guys that are athletic Ottawa should look forward to and try to get an opportunity to do. And maybe those guys can even go back, maybe signing out there, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, you wonder because what they're in are they in mid-season right now?
Yeah, they're in mid-season,
So I
so they're
wonder if
gonna.
that's
Those guys
almost
are coming
something
back
that they
fit.
look at. Oh, that's fantastic. But I wonder if you
Hmm.
almost look at for them where they're like, we're not going to sign you in January.
Hmm.
We're going to wait till the summer.
Hmm.
So that
And if
might
you
be an
keep it up,
opportunity for them where they're like, you know what, like go get meaningful games all year
hmm,
and come back. You know what I mean?
hmm,
Like that, maybe that's what that is kind of leaning more towards.
hmm,
But yeah, no, that's awesome for them. And I think like if from an expectation standpoint, I would expect Pacific to win.
hmm,
It's at Starlight, it's on the island. Um, and again, it's that group. It'll be Vancouver FC's first game. You know
hmm.
what I mean? I think for them, I think like what their biggest, like most pressure game could come if they draw TSS in the Canadian
Mm.
Championships, because now you have a group of guys who played League One BC who didn't get
And
signed
get signed.
playing
Oh
against
yeah,
this.
the hunger.
That would be a matchup that I would love to watch. If that's
Hmm.
the draw, I'm gonna go to that game. I'm going to that
It,
game for
it,
sure.
it's almost like a Vaughn versus York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. I think like the different, like again, like this is just looking at it now. I think that would have been something maybe when the CPL first started, kind of thing. But
Hmm.
again, at the time though, you had the Alistairs who were playing, but
Hmm.
Alistair was at Wake. Like he's
Hmm.
not signing
Yeah.
for that. Like that was like
Yeah.
this is directly like you've got some 28, 27, 26-year-olds
Yes.
playing for
Yes.
TSS
Yeah.
who
Are
wanted
angry.
to sign and
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
Like you're
It
going to
makes it.
sign.
It makes it more competitive. It makes it. That's what soccer's supposed to be like. You know what I mean? A little rivalry, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe some people like everybody plays down to their competition sometimes. So maybe he's gonna spark something.
For me,
Maybe.
besides like that first game and maybe very first home CPL game,
Mm-hmm,
that could be their most pressure filled game because other than that,
mm-hmm.
man, like it's an expansion team in a league that's
Expensive.
now 5 years in.
Yeah.
Like, and you look at the top four, yeah, it's a
Mm-hmm,
hard top four to crack, like a
mm-hmm,
really hard top four to crack right now.
mm-hmm.
Um,
And sometimes Valor be teetering too. So it's like okay, you know what I mean? Like sometimes Valor
Halifax,
be in
some
and
like
out. Halifax be
again,
teetering. Yeah.
when they had it when Hakeem Garcia was on fire,
On
like
fire.
banging
Yeah.
goals with Morelli, like they're
Morelli's
a
and
different side.
Morelli's going to be coming back as well
Yep.
because he's
So
back from
that's a
injury.
huge addition for them.
Yeah,
So
for
again,
them.
like with those ones, you look at and even York now with Mo.
Mm-hmm.
Mo, you have Mo
Mo.
for a full season.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
You lose Isaiah Johnson though.
yeah,
You
Izzy's
lose a
gone
couple
with
guys. Yeah.
yeah, Izzy's a big loss for them, but
You lose Jordan Wilson who started
Zats is
every
gone
center back.
too.
Yeah. Yeah. See,
So like they've lost a lot of guys. So
both their starting center backs are gone.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's one of those ones where they're like all of those every other teams now had a stint where they were kind of hunting and kind of in there. So you're coming at it from zero experience and like nothing. You got to
Mm-hmm.
build from scratch. So I don't think there's too much expectation on them this year other than to compete. And I think that would be significantly important if it's one of those ones where it was never easy to play against them. It was never fun to play against them. If that's kind of the mentality that everyone comes away from playing against Vancouver
Man.
FC, or if it's like, man, they really went for it. They go for it. Like if you're from a competitor standpoint saying that stuff about them, it's great
Mm-hmm.
because you don't want anyone going, huh, yeah, well, we
Mm-hmm.
got Vancouver this weekend.
But that's how I won't even lie. That's how I felt about Ottawa the first 2 years they were in the league. I was like, damn, we playing Ottawa. All right, this is a dub. I didn't really think about it. No offense to Ottawa. Y'all did well this past year. But when I was there, I was like, damn, we playing Ottawa. They never scored against us once when I played Ottawa 2 years. So I was like, damn, we playing Ottawa. All right, let's win this game and go home. But like I said, we're talking about the free agents. Vancouver FC, if you need to sign players, bro, there's so many top free agents that are out there. There's people that are still have been in the CPL and out of the CPL for a couple years that are still available. There's people that you know what I mean.
Yeah,
People that are willing to make the move from east to west, or people from the middle of Canada to the west coast. I think they need to do a lot more justice. And beggars can't be choosers. That's another thing, but beggars cannot be choosers.
I think it kind
Like,
of comes on both sides though. Like that comes from the
yeah,
player side and the club side. Like
I tell all my friends, my peers that are looking for clubs that have been in CPL and are out or free agents. I tell them, yo, you have to humble yourself because if you're still trying to make this thing go, you got to go in there with a humble attitude, like, yo, I just want to continue to bring something to the table for a team. That's it. Don't go in there and be like, oh, I can do this, I can do that. Like every team knows who you are. Especially if you played in the CPL for the last 4 years, every team knows who you are. But you got to go in there and be like, yo, I know what I can bring to the table, but I'm more willing to try to follow the system and try to do what I can do to continue playing. You know what I mean? At this
yeah,
point, it's all just about salvaging your career. and then
Well,
building from there, and then
well,
building from there.
it and potentially this move that's a salvage might turn
Mhm.
into the biggest opportunity where you
I got
get
you.
drawn into, oh, this is our Canadian Championship game. We just got drawn into, oh, we're playing
Mhm.
TFC, and you
Boom,
tear it up, or you
boom.
Montreal or someone like, right? Like
Mhm.
you just never kind of know,
Yeah.
right? So like that would be pretty significant. But I know you touched on this earlier in your little
Mhm.
monologue there, but where would you rank? So if you had to rank I guess the North American leagues,
Mhm.
like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Are we
top
talking
five.
soccer? Are we saying soccer only? Are we saying
Yeah.
all the North American
No,
leagues?
no, 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 just soccer. Just
I
soccer.
would say, I was NBA. Nah, soccer leagues. I would say, like, are we talking? Are we saying grassroots as well?
No, 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 no. Professional. All
Professional?
pros.
North America.
Because I think that's like a vitally important thing to look at, right?
Mhm. I
Like
would.
you kind of touched on
I
it
was.
with CPL, they think it's ranked like right up there.
Nah, it's not. I would say the Mexican league is still ahead. Viewership, exposure, the money within the Mexican league, like
Also the overall
the
level,
the
man.
the overall level, the history behind the Mexican league, like it's win at all cost mentality. Like people be dying out there just for you know what I mean, win at all cost mentality. Um, just everything about it, the culture behind it. MLS is a close second. Obviously the Big Apple deal, like getting the games across all platforms, people will be able to watch the games as much as possible. And like the players, the talent that's coming into the MLS, it's no longer a retirement league. You see top tier European guys coming at a younger age now. Like you don't have the Frank Lampards, and no offense to my guy, Andrea Pirlo, but like you still have those guys um, coming in their prime, like Insigne, Bernadeschi, like Christian Benteke, who I'm excited to see as well. I forgot to name that too. Like Wayne Rooney's there, but like yo, Benteke, he used to be dunking on people in the Premier League. I remember that. But yeah, just guys like so MLS, and then third, I can't even say the CPL. I would have to say the Costa Rican league because you have like top tier teams in Costa Rica that like go in and beat teams in Champions League. Like yeah, we beat Santos Laguna Forge, but like we still have um what's that? I forgot how to pronounce their name. I have to get the name. But you still have top tier teams that like players from the Costa Rican league go. Like Brian Ruiz used to play for one of them. I forgot the name. Damn. Let me search it right now actually. Because there's like I got you. Hold on.
No, I think
Hold
like
on,
that's
let
an
me go.
important distinction to make
Yeah.
though, is that you also have
Yeah,
you have
like
the
Saprissa. See, that's what I'm talking about. My bad. Deportivo Saprissa, San Jose, Alajuelense, like Iridiano. Those guys are in CONCACAF Champions League all the time. You know what I mean? So like, if you throw the 8 CPL teams, obviously because the money and stuff, but I think it's the culture behind it. Because I don't think all those teams the people on the teams are making as much money as the guys at the top of the league. There's a discrepancy between how much people are making. So like, yeah, the
Mhm.
CPL, you don't have people are not making that much money. But like, if you throw the 8 teams in the CPL, give them the same budget and put them in Costa Rica or whatever, bro, I think only 2 teams do all right. Oh, and I'm saying all right. I'm not even saying like they win or they even finish like top 4. Like we do all right. That's what I'm saying. Like you can tell, like even when Pacific once they played in Costa Rica, like there's the culture behind it makes everything so much more difficult and so much more competitive that like it's not gonna be the same team winning every year in those Costa Rica and Honduras. Like people die over this. Until you adopt that, I don't think you could like I don't want people to die over soccer, of course, but until you adopt that passion, like bro, there's no way. Like marathon and or Montagua versus Olympia, there's a riot before every game. Like it's actually absolutely wild. Early, like when I watched the Boca Juniors and River Plate documentary recently, when they had the game in Bernabeu, but the reason why they had it because fucking tear gas was thrown into like shit like that is wild. Like you don't want that, but like you can see how much it matters to people, excluding the violence. So yeah, I would say like a team like if you take the top 5 teams from, yeah, it's not even close. There's just more teams. There's more. It's been there longer. So I guess CPL, like I said, 5 years in, I'll probably give it like fifth, maybe. And
Oh,
that's
it's
only because
behind USL Championship too, man. The USL
USL.
Championship is
I forgot about,
fucking good,
bro. That's
man.
what I'm saying. No,
Like
USL Championship. Honestly, it's
probably
close
third,
still. Third,
third.
third, yeah.
Like if you look at
Third
like the overall league, like you're kind of
overall league,
you're
the overall
probably choosing between them and
competition.
Costa Rica. Like
Yeah,
yeah, top ends, like it's just so top heavy. But so is
yeah.
Liga MX a little bit. Liga MX
Leave
is a
it.
little top heavy. At least it can be.
Yeah, but the
Um,
mid-table Liga MX teams are gonna compete
oh,
like for
they're so
championships in
good.
like
Oh
Costa
yeah.
Rica and then MLS. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, Liga MX
Mm-hmm.
is the top for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Liga MX is top, MLS second. I'd
Mm-hmm.
probably put
USL and
USL
Costa Rica,
Championship third, Costa
just
Rica
because of
fourth.
how competitive altogether the USL is, and you still have to
Yeah.
fly within across North America.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay, I can see that. Yeah.
But again, like if you look at the Costa Rican, let's just say we take the Costa Rican
Mm-hmm.
league as an
Mm-hmm.
example, but you don't have to take the top half, but like the whole
Mm-hmm.
league. That's a small little country.
Mm-hmm. And
Population isn't massive.
they have 12 teams, but at the same time, 5 of those teams go to Champions League.
Yeah, and
It's wild.
they
Yeah,
compete,
yeah.
right? So it's like, that top level, like again, like that's the goal of CPL is that you
Mm-hmm.
can then start supplying players to your
Mm-hmm.
national team
Mm-hmm.
based on
True.
the level of CPL. But
Mm-hmm.
again, if you look at the Costa Rican, and again, that league's been around for so much longer. It's a man's league.
Mm-hmm.
It's a men's league. Like
Mm-hmm.
men playing it. There's no
Mm-hmm.
U21 minute restriction. There's no
Mm-hmm.
like
It's a win
it
at all costs. So
win
you
at all
play
costs. And
whoever is gonna win.
you're also trying to promote Costa Rican players.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? For them, don't get me wrong, it's a lot more difficult to
Mm-hmm.
convince a Brazilian to come play in Costa Rica rather than
Costa
the US or
US,
Canada.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's probably easier. They can probably like, I'd rather go live somewhere over there. So they're
Mm-hmm.
kind of limited in that
Mm-hmm.
capacity.
But it helps the
But
national
that
team.
type of history, exactly. But that type of history, and that's why they're able to continuously produce players like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the aspect right now where, again, it's a difficult conversation because you are trying to build a business
Mm-hmm.
and you're trying to sink a lot of money into this and you want to create the best product. Like there is a catch-22 within this for sure.
But only 3 of those leagues that you named are salary capped, and
Yeah.
those are the teams in US and Canada.
Yeah.
Mexico's no salary cap. Those other countries, no salary can get
Nope.
paid based on results. Because people are always gonna come out because everybody has their boy hometown teams. But it's if you keep winning, the more people are gonna come out. Forge has won 4 times, and we will still average. I still say we because that's still Forge is still like, you know what I mean. But like,
yeah,
they still average like 5,000 fans. Like, how's that possible? Like, your team is winning all the time. How are you guys not coming to watch someone win?
I know. It's like I said, it's still in its infancy.
Mm-hmm.
It still really is in its infancy. And again, until you and that's the thing that I talk about the most, connecting with the community though. Like
Mm-hmm.
down there, like you said, that's everything to them. For that community,
Mm-hmm.
it's everything. So they are going
Mm-hmm.
out all the time. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're like that's what they do on
And
Friday
it's
nights.
it's not expensive to go.
It's not expensive to go. Like,
So it's
but
worth
again,
it.
though, that's their Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
Are you choosing to go to King Street or to
Oh
Hamilton?
yeah. What you
Like
know about King Street, dog?
I was down there on Caravana weekend, but my first time in
Oh
Toronto.
damn.
I
Yes,
barely
sir.
remember anything.
No,
But
we gotta get you on a Patreon episode of your time on Caravana weekend.
like
You
that's
want
the thing.
Caravana
Like,
weekend.
but like that's the thing though, man. Like, which one are you gonna do? You know what I mean? Like that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of that's not their Friday night. That's not their Saturday night. Where
Mm-hmm.
like that's where connecting with the local community and genuinely going and having that type of an impact. That's how you create culture. And so
Mm-hmm.
for a league that's only
It's
5
definitely gonna
years
take time.
young, it is going to take time, and you have to
Mm-hmm.
try and build that and it's going to be a slow build. Like again, you look at MLS,
Mm-hmm.
they're 25 years in,
Yep.
and look at
And
what their
it,
minimum cap is right now. Like the
and
minimum
it,
salary is
and
56,000.
honestly speaking, MLS didn't even start getting popping until like
So Bex came.
2012, bro. For me, like I knew Beckham was there, but like these guys were just smoking everyone. Like they were winning all the time. So like I was like, all right, there's no competition. Like everybody else, like until like okay, TFC came when they got Di Rosario, that's I was like, okay, I'm gonna pay more attention to MLS. And then
Yeah,
you
it's from a
seen a little
Canadian
bit,
standpoint though, right?
yeah,
Like that's
yeah.
like again, like from the Toronto standpoint, you're like, yeah,
I'm saying from my standpoint, like MLS didn't because it wasn't on TV. Only TFC. If TFC was playing, okay, they're on TV. But other than that, I wasn't watching no DC United versus Elliott versus Los Angeles Galaxy. Like I knew Beckham was there, but like I couldn't care less to watch because what was on TSN was Premier League and all those other games. I was like, I'm not watching them. So like
yeah.
MLS did it for me till like 2012. I was like, all right, yo, hold on. Okay, this is looking promising because I was going to college. I was getting ready to
Well,
go to college.
and we're talking that's
Becker
only a
got
decade
drafted.
ago.
Yeah, Becker got drafted. I was like, okay, we can do this. You know what I mean? It changes the whole ball game. So yeah, it was kind of cool. But yeah, you're right. Definitely gonna take some time. Like we see Hamilton Ticats, we see the crowd that they get. We're like, yo, how come we win more? We've won more than the Hamilton Ticats, but they've been around for hundred years. So it's like, all right, that makes sense.
Saskatchewan Roughriders, man.
Yeah,
They sell out every single game. It doesn't matter if they're in last place in the
that's
CFL.
crazy.
Every
Yep.
game they sell out because it's culture and that's what they
Mm-hmm.
do and that's what they like. And so that's the thing. Like you're gonna have to build to that, and it's a slow build. That's not a quick one. It's
100%.
not quick. Like, and
110%.
buddy, Man City
Yes,
are one of the
sir.
best teams in the world. They don't sell out every game,
They don't. Their tickets are expensive though, but yeah, they don't.
but they don't. They don't. Like, listen,
They win all
Man
the
United
time
tickets
too.
are expensive. They
Mhm.
sell out every single game. Old
Arsenal too.
Trafford is sold out every single game.
Arsenal too. Yeah, Emirates, bro. And that's the most expensive ticket in the Premier League, Emirates.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess you're right. I mean, it's gonna take some time, 100%. But yeah, speaking of Man City versus Arsenal today, did you watch the game?
I got to watch a little bit of it. I was running
Mm.
around a little bit. I had to do some work, and um, it was uh, it was methodical.
Yeah, it was. Now we just gonna be flat out. Yo, that shit was boring, bro. That shit was boring, bro. I fell asleep with it on. I was like, yo, I cannot watch this. It's like you could tell that both coaches know exactly how both coaches think, and both team. It's just like one team just has more. You could tell
Student
there's
against
more.
teacher.
Yeah, it's like there's more money on one side, so there's more quality on the other side. So like Arsenal brought on Odegaard, and then Pep at the same time brought on Bernardo Silva. Say, yeah, all right, here. Like it was like, yo, they were subbing on the same guys. It was like they brought off Mahrez, and then they brought on Julian Alvarez, and then they brought off Saka, and they brought on Martin. I was like, yo, fam, y'all was just doing the same thing, bro. I
Yeah.
was like, this is getting outrageous. But then obviously the quality you can tell. But Arsenal still has a quality. But Man City, they just know now. I think they're just built differently. Like they can keep the ball, but now like everyone on their team is athletic. Like they're athletic with techers. And I always used to say, this is a running joke. Like I always used to tell my boys, I was like, yo, some teams, sometimes you just need the athletes. You know, like yo, black and Spanish people. The mix is like when you have like the Hondurans, it's like yo, if worst comes to worst, we can just go athleticism only. But then we can play. Yeah, there's some teams that are like, yo, if you're just all finesse, it doesn't work. Man City realized that, like, hey, we need to expand our game because they were winning, obviously, with all finesse, but like, okay, let's see if we can just beat teams 3-0 first 30 minutes and then just chill.
Yeah. I
Like,
think that's
they
what was
never,
so
yeah.
revolutionary about Pep's
Mm-hmm,
Barcelona team, though.
mm-hmm.
Like, if you look at that team and you look at like who an athlete was, you were like, yeah, okay, you have Eric Abidal at left back.
The North American athlete.
But
That's the
that's the
difference.
thing. But like that's the thing, though. If you look at
Yeah,
like Eric Abidal was an athlete who could
athlete.
play. He could.
Yeah.
Eric Abidal was a world class left back.
Yaya
But
Toure was an athlete who could
but
play.
I'm not even taking. I'm taking him out. I'm going. You have him. You have Puyol, who's probably more of an athlete than a footballer. He's
Yeah,
a, like,
yeah.
you know what I mean. So you
He
have
was a
those two on
five
the left
nine,
hand
five
side.
ten.
You
Yeah.
have Piqué was a footballer. He wasn't an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Never quit.
Mm-hmm.
Danny Alves was a
Daniel was a
footballer.
footballer. He can run, but he's a footballer.
Busquets, footballer.
Footballer.
Iniesta,
Xavi is a
Xavi,
football.
footballer. Messi, footballer.
Messi at
Pedro,
young, he could
Pedro.
run. Those guys are
No,
running,
hey,
but they're
don't
more
get me wrong.
footballers, of course. They're
That's
more
what I'm saying.
footballers than
Pedro, athlete, more of an
athlete.
athlete. David
But
Villa,
he can use
footballer.
he can use both feet. Like I didn't know what foot he was until like he went to Chelsea. I was like, yo, this guy is unbelievable.
He's
Like
under.
him and Santi Cazorla. I was like, yo, what foot are you guys?
Oh, Santi Cazorla. Santi
Yeah.
Cazorla. It's unreal. But
Cazorla.
like you look at that one team and you're like, how did he do it? Like,
Bro, he brought Thierry Henry. Thierry Henry had to like lose his athleticism. It was like, all right, bro, you're running too much. Slow down. And then he's like, damn, he slowed down Thierry Henry and this guy, bro.
crazy. Like that's what kind of made
Bro.
that team so special. But yeah, City and again, it kind of interesting. Like, I wonder if this is gonna play in the back of someone like. Do you think? What do you think is like higher on a priority list for both clubs? Do you think for City it's winning the Premier League or the Champions League, and then for Arsenal, do you think it's winning a title or a cup at all, or is it trying to finish as close with like winning the Prem or finishing second?
I think everybody on Arsenal is going to tell you they want to win the Prem.
No, but what I'm saying is if you get pipped for it, if you get pipped at the end, say you lose by 4 to 6 points or between 1 and 6 points, you go right down to the wire with City and you can't get it done. Or would you rather
I think that's an accomplishment. I think they rather go down to the wire with City. Because at one point, like, even Liverpool lost on the last day twice. You know what I mean? So it's like, but we weren't saying like, oh wow, that's a shit season from Liverpool, even if they didn't win anything.
Yeah, but they won the Champions League during that time. Like I'm saying, like they're in a chance. They have a spot to win the Europa League.
But last year they didn't win anything, Liverpool, and it had to go down when the fan told Mo Salah the score of the Man City game. They're like, damn.
Yeah, but that was like that. Yeah, that was the whole thing. Oh, they're up for. They could win 6. They could win 6 trophies this year, and they walked away with nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
And so that's the thing. Like right now, City have just knocked them out of the FA Cup. So again, if they win nothing, say you win nothing, and again, their closest comparable right now is Man United. Ten Hag wins the Carabao Cup. He's won more. Like he's now won a title during that rebuild. Arteta's 3 years into his. Ten Hag's 6 months into his.
I think he has to win something.
So they've got the Europa League. So again, now this is you. But now they're down to 2. They're down to the Prem and the Europa League. Like
it's just honestly, a lot of it is luck too. I mean, I can attest to that because like, what are the chances that like we like? Let me see. So a lot of it is like, what are the chances you draw Man City? Like,
the FA Cup's all luck.
The FA Cup,
that's all luck.
That's unfortunate. I think he should try to like, because I already told you about this. Like Arsenal don't have that many players off the bench that are the quality. The drop off quality is immense compared to Man City. So if their starting 11 stays healthy, they should focus on health and just winning games. Take it game by game. You know what I mean? If they go to the final of the Europa League and like they go wire to wire with Man City, lose the last day, okay. Like I think that's fine. Even if he doesn't win a cup, it's like, bro, like I went to the final of the Europa League and I went to like the Carabao Cup. It should not even matter. If Ten Hag does win the Carabao Cup, it's like, all right, congratulations. But I went to the final of the Europa League and I went to head-to-head with Man City in the final. Man City is built for Champions League.
They are.
That's it.
I think if they lose the league, if they don't win the league, but they win the Champions League,
I think
they're ecstatic. I think their whole fan base is ecstatic. I don't think they give a shit.
Don't get me wrong. There's an ongoing debate about what's harder to win, the Champions League or your domestic league. And I honestly think, I actually want to hear what you think.
Premier League's harder to win.
Okay, thank you.
Premier League's way harder to win. Like it's one thing. Like again, I think people look at it and take it for granted about City and stuff. And how long did it take Liverpool
4 out
to
of
win
5
it again?
years, 29 years.
United haven't won it in how long now? After their run, but before that,
was it 2013?
Yes.
2013 was their last one.
Almost a decade now.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's actually crazy. That's actually wild.
But that's from when we grew up. They went even longer before that without winning. So before Ferguson got there, they'd gone so long without winning. Like again, I think like from our generation, we're so used to seeing the United, the Chelsea.
Tottenham has never won, have they? Yeah, look at that, bro.
But again though, Tottenham, new money. Chelsea came in with new money. City, new money. United, we're just used to seeing it because that's the era we grew up in. But all these teams that we're used to, and Arsenal when we were younger won it a lot. But when's the last time they won a league?
20 years ago.
We're so like we're just used to seeing these big teams with money win it. That's all we're used to.
We take it for granted.
Everyone's kind of saying it. They do take it for granted how fucking hard it is to win that league. Because again, we're seeing it more now too. Like even we're seeing it way more now. with,
Mhm.
it was always, I always felt like it was the best league in the world because
Mhm.
you could lose to anyone. That never seemed
Mhm.
to happen in Spain,
Mhm. Yeah.
never seemed to happen in Italy,
And,
never
and now and
happens in
now and now
Germany.
now it's vice versa. If it seems
Like,
City won the last 4 out of 5. Barca and Real Madrid have been flip flopping.
yeah,
Um, Italian Serie A is like always up
AC
in the air.
Milan finally won it after
Yeah,
Juventus dominated for a
for a
decade, it seemed
decade.
like.
Yeah,
Like,
and Juventus
but
is
that's the
out
thing.
here
Like,
about to.
anyone can win. Like, anyone in the
Mhm,
Prem can win any single game. If, like, when those teams show up,
mhm. They
that's
don't
what
show up
made.
to just. They don't show up to just say, "All right, we're gonna lose this game."
And
Doesn't matter what team it
there's
is.
some games where City are just in the mood and you can't help it and you lose 8
Yeah,
0 That's gonna
yeah,
happen too.
yeah.
But
But there's
Leicester
some
won the
games.
league not that long
Yeah,
ago, which
and
is
there's some games where
unheard of.
City's tired. Like, I just had a Champions League game midweek. I just traveled on Thursday. Got back home at 4 a.m. I ain't really trying to play against Burnley right now or Brighton right now. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So yeah,
No,
yeah.
it's for me, it's the hardest. It's way harder to win that,
Mm.
in my
Yeah,
opinion.
domestically, and then plus England, you have a lot more domestic cups as well. So you add that into the fold, yeah, 100%. But I think if City win the Champions League, that's what Pep was there for. But don't get me wrong, Premier League, that's where most of the money comes from. So
Well, that's the other
you know,
crazy. Have you seen the money, the statistics for money,
uh,
transfer fees for January?
Chelsea took out the wallet and said, "Yeah, the meme where the handing the card like this, not even looking." That's what Chelsea did this offseason, bro. They just,
Buddy,
they,
it's outrageous, but they compared the leagues. I'm gonna find the
of
stat
course.
right now. They compared the money spent though.
Barcelona can't even re-sign Gavi. They want to re-sign him to a new deal, and La Liga won't let them register him. That's how
Wait,
broke Barca is. That's how sad it
here,
is out there.
here's the yeah, but that's also Spain are broke. Like,
Yeah.
listen to these stats, right? So in Liga, there's been 8.3 million euros spent in January. Serie A, 9.1 million. La Liga, 23.3 million. Bundesliga, 34 million euros.
Mm.
Premier League, 352.5 million euros been spent on transfers
Damn.
in January.
And January usually is when teams just be chilling.
That's
Just be
fucking absurd. Like, and that's like
and that's all Chelsea, no?
that's kind of a
I'm just
work
kidding. I'm just kidding.
how they're gonna like they're finishing 10th this year. They're getting financial fair play done for sure.
That's
Like,
crazy, bro.
but like that's kind of worrying now. You know what I mean? Like, before, like, I get that no one wants the Super League to come in because that's just the
Mm.
stupidest, fucking greediest bullshit
Mm.
ever. The Prem's kind of
Facts.
turning into that. You know what I mean?
It just
Like, if
and the
there's
only teams
no
that can stand
parity,
the only teams that can stand against them are the top teams in each league, except for Barcelona.
but at what point does that now not even become relevant? You know
I
what I
think it
mean?
doesn't.
Like,
I think it doesn't become relevant because if you really look at these teams, like say Man City, Man U, Arsenal, Chelsea, and who else? Tottenham, new money. If you look at their academies, they sell off so many kids, so much youth that they make so much revenue that it doesn't even matter.
no, I'm saying
Like,
for though what I'm saying is from a competition standpoint, at what point does the race for the top six in the Prem become more
oh,
entertaining than the
Newcastle,
Champions
forgot to
League?
add Newcastle. Newcastle got new
Newcastle's new
money too.
money, yeah. But at what point does that race now for top four and the Premier League title? At what point does that now become more exciting than the Champions League? Because you're just like, well, Bayern Munich just rested like, eh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
The thing is if those top teams don't do well in Champions League, everybody's gonna be looking at them like, yo, what are you guys doing? Because Bayern Munich and those guys, like if Man City, Chelsea, and all those guys are buying all the top players, and Bayern Munich is developing their own players, and they're still beating you guys on a one-off basis, it's kind of like, yo, what are you guys doing? I think that's why City changed their mentality. Like, yo, if we're gonna buy all these players, we can't be losing to teams that don't buy anybody. I think that's why because like they cook everyone in the Premier League like the past 5 years. Now they're like, hey, now when we go against these other European giants and we lose to them, like there's no reason for us to be losing if we're buying all these guys. Yeah, we don't have Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar, Mbappe, and like the other guys in the top leagues, but like we have most of the top players in the world. So we have to, regardless day in and day out, the 2 times we play them home and away, we have to win. I think that's how Man City's looking at it. They're moving way efficient. They're not trying to just keep the ball just to keep the ball anymore. Like you have Kevin De Bruyne and Erling Haaland running routes. Like it's
yeah.
looking like NFL. They're like, yo, fuck this. We're gonna win. this game in the first 30 minutes and then just chill.
Yeah, you just hear Kevin
Literally.
De Bruyne start yelling, Omaha.
Yeah, that's it. He literally looks up. Haaland just puts his head down and just starts sprinting.
I think part of that too is Pep stopped trying to tweak and do weird shit. Like he talked about that in the United game, and it was like, you've got Haaland destroyed United last time, destroyed them. How are you not just going, we're going to do the exact same thing?
Every
And I think
time.
like that's part of it where maybe, that must come with being a genius. And you're like, oh, I have this new idea. And if it doesn't work, you're like, oh, why didn't it work? But yeah, so buddy, the end of the season run, I mean, fuck, we're only in mid-season for every league. It feels like it's a lot longer, to be honest with you, because normally I feel like mid-season's like mid-December. Whereas
It's the
now
World Cup.
World
It was
Cup
the
has
World
kind
Cup.
of pushed everything. So everything's in mid-season. It's going to be exciting.
Good thing for you, Marcus Rashford, bro. I'm happy for him. I'm so happy for him. Did you see did I ever show you about the picture that I took with him in New York?
I don't think so. You gotta send
Oh,
that.
I gotta send that to you. Oh, my guy
Yeah.
Rashi. So yo, quick story before we're almost done. So I was in New York at Catch Steakhouse with some of my boys and my boys' girl, whatever, catching up after a New York City FC game. And then Rashford and his family right like at the backside of that restaurant, probably like 3 tables down. And then me and my brother were like, yo, that's Marcus Rashford. I'm like, damn, I want to get a picture, but I also don't want a fanboy. I was like, damn, bro. So we go. My boy goes because he just doesn't give a damn. He was like, yo, I don't care. I'm never gonna see this guy again. I'm like, bro, this guy's having dinner with. I think he waited till his family was done having dinner, whatever. They were getting up, whatever, and he went. And we had a conversation with him. So yeah, I have a Jamaican background, bro. He is one of the nicest people that I've ever met in person. Like humble, calm, like didn't feel no ways, not flashy. And I'm like, bro, this is the type of footballer. Literally 2 days later, I saw him like he was working out in like Dubai. I was like, bro, weren't you just in New York like 2 days ago? But yeah, I took a picture together with him. Cool people, family, cool people. Yeah. So and now I'm happy to see that he's flourishing from the World Cup to what he's doing now. Emmanuel was a 10 games straight scoring
Oh,
or some shit like
stupid.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
it's
going
10.
he's going nuts.
He's
He's
going
going
off
nuts.
right now. Which again, that's another kid who, again, like think about the one thing I always look at him with the amount of political shit he got for trying to help kids get fed. Like, but
That
what that would weigh to you and how much shit you're getting on social media for it, like from just trying to play football perspective. Because I won't lie, at one point I was like, why are you even interacting with these people anymore? Just do what you're doing because what you're doing is phenomenal and fucking ignore them. Just
and
ignore
he
them.
got knighted.
Just
And he got knighted. I respect it.
get back to your foot. Like do what you're doing because what you're doing is fantastic and just stick to football. Like don't
It's hard. It's
engage with them
hard
on
though.
social media. Like
It's hard though.
and I know it's hard because now they're coming after your character and all that stuff. And but like to
It's
see like
hard
it
though.
didn't surprise me though when he did go into a dip of form because I'm like
Mm-hmm.
I fucking bet. But to
Bro,
see again like what Ten Hag's done with him, what he's done with
uh,
Wan-Bissaka, like all these guys, man, it's
the we can go on a Man United probably one time for you. I got a couple questions for you, Manu. But I was saying like yo, stuff being a professional footballer, like you're always told to take the high road, politically correct, and you should go on breakfast and watch the Breakfast Club interview with Stephen A. Smith and Lala Anthony when she says how people are always criticizing Carmelo Anthony, and then like you see your husband taking this shit personally, but he can't say anything about it because he's always taking the high road, and then you react for him, but it's possibly not the best decision for you to make because then it goes back onto your husband like, yo, why is your wife talking smack on your behalf, this and that. So a lot of people would say, yo, control your narrative before other people control it. But when it gets too much and it's like, hey, yo, the only thing I'd say for him is tough because if he walks outside, there's people gonna say something to him. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
even if he doesn't react on Twitter, there's going to be someone on the street that's going to say something to him. So that's the word. So what are you going to do? Be cooped up in your crib? And I think that's the difficult part about playing in England, and no one takes that into consideration. That these guys actually can't go outside. Like Richie
Yeah.
was telling me, he'll go to a restaurant by himself, and then like the next day at training, Steve Cooper come to him and is like, "Oh, so I heard you like Italian." Like that's how it is. So it's like what can you actually do? You know what I mean? It's like, damn, these guys are talking smack to me in my face, and I always have to take the high road. Nah, sometimes you got to clap back. Sometimes you got to be Draymond Green.
And if you don't tweet back at them and the next day you say something to someone, that gets filmed and then that gets put on Twitter. because
Yeah.
that's the world we live in right now, right? Like
Yeah.
it's crazy.
But
It's
like when
fucking insane.
like that's what I'm saying. When is enough? But for him, honestly, I'm happy to see the form that he's in, and he's a product of his environment. Because imagine if he had the same coaching that like a guy like Jadon Sancho had, or a guy like Mbappe's had. Like Mbappe has had great coaches his whole career. This guy got Solskjaer, no offense. He had who else?
We
David Moyes.
came up under no came up
Who did he
under
come
Louis
up
Van
with?
Gaal. Louis
Louis
Van
Van
Gaal.
Gaal.
It's
But
a
like
fucking good manager to come up with.
it is a good manager to come up with. Come up like because obviously he helped Memphis Depay and those guys like hit form. But it's like after you, how long was he at Man U for? Then he had Jose Mourinho, who's not really an
Mourinho.
attack minded player, but like but Jose Mourinho always brags about having like Ronaldo scoring and all. I'm like, bro, those guys are the best players in the world. They're going to be attacking threats all the time. But if you have a young kid who's supposed to be the next one up, and he's playing with a bunch of bums who Ronaldo, Benzema, and no mans weren't playing with. I'm not saying everybody on Man U was bums, but like he was playing with Wayne Rooney his first year, and then Rooney left. Then after that, who was
And
he really playing with?
Ibrahimovic.
Yeah, Ibrahimovic got injured towards ACL. So it's like, how much? Like, I feel bad for him, and the fact that he's being able to do this without the better like coaches, like man's had Tuchel, dudes had like you know what I mean, Jose Mourinho, dudes had so many good managers, Pep Guardiola. Like, imagine if he was under Pep, he's gotta be cooking people, bro. Like, if he was under Tuchel, he'd be cooking people. So that's I just think it's unfortunate though for him. But now he has a good manager with him, and boom, he's flourishing, bro. Confidence is a real thing.
Oh, so big. So,
Real
so,
thing.
so, 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 so
Real thing.
big. Yeah. And I think again, like the Twitter thing, like the one thing I always look at too, though, like it's crazy that that's now something that we should be like those guys should be coming back at. You're like, you only have 180 characters. Like that almost seems like that's like before it was none of them had Twitter accounts because it wasn't
Mhm.
real media. Whereas
Yeah, it
now it
wasn't real
is.
media. Yeah.
Like, how is this real media? Like anyone can say whatever they want. They can change. Now you can buy
Edit.
a verified fucking check
Hmm.
mark. Like
Hmm. It's wild.
it's like the Wild West. Like I really don't
I
feel like
honestly
that.
only
Like
go on Twitter. I go on Twitter for some news. I don't really listen to news. I don't watch any news. Like
no, I go on it
nothing.
for
I don't.
comedic shit.
I go, yo, I
I go
go
to
on for
laugh.
jokes. Twitter's
Yeah.
the funniest app on earth. If you follow the right people, it's actually the
Yeah.
funniest app. Twitter and then Instagram, bro. Those are the two apps I use the most. But Twitter is hilarious. If you follow the right people, like you always see the positive parts of social media. That's what I always say. Like, yo, you control your own negativity. If what you see is negative. I don't follow all that, like American politics and all that. Nah, but I follow jokes. That's it. I want to be happy.
Who
So
would want to follow
yeah,
politics right now? Fuck
yeah, man,
that.
that's crazy. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Have we hit everything right now? What else do we got?
Not much else, man. I mean, that's it for this
Not
week,
much.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Obviously you're gonna continue with preseason here, which will
Mhm.
be exciting to kind of tack along and follow.
Next week, you guys should hit me up. We are going to talk about we play New York Red Bull in a preseason match. So I'll let you know how that goes. Not this week.
There
I
we
think it's
go.
next weekend. So I'll let you know. Maybe we'll give you a little prequel. Then we'll do another short pod after the match, and I'll let you know how that game goes. What else? The first team is coming back soon, so I'll let you know if I get to see Awuah
Yeah, we'll
and
see a nice little picture.
Benteke and those guys. Yeah, I
Yeah.
gotta take a little flick, bro. Come on, I'm gonna say yo. You know what I mean? Yeah, come on, no pick. But yeah, for the most part, the season starting up in exactly a month. MLS season starting up exactly a month, and that's exciting. TFC plays DC United, so I'm gonna be at that game, gang. So all my gang I'm gonna try to get some content for that as well. So
There you go.
exactly, but everything else, chilling, bro. Show you my new dip. Maybe by then I'll be in my new apartment,
Hopefully in your new digs.
my new digs, brother. That's all. But yeah, thank you guys again for tuning in with us. I know we covered a lot. I'm gonna try to get some more stuff out there. Probably more content on my side for sure. I did a lot during the off season when it came to off season training and all that stuff, and I'm gonna try to get some more training stuff. I'm gonna try to get a couple more interesting interviews, and hopefully we can spice things up from here on out. Um, like I said, this has been FTF Top Bin Talks podcast, and I'm Kwame Awuah, and that's Adam Jones. Peace out.